Hey, so it's Rachel again. It's me. And today we're talking a little bit about stories because stories are really powerful. They get through like the resistance and everything in your prospects' mind because they're just natural. They're not salesy and they don't come across as salesy. And people like hearing stories because they're interesting. They're really captivating. So it's really important that you know how to sell using a story. But let me just give you an outline of how to tell a good story, because it's really important to know that while storytelling and story selling might be a really powerful way to sell and a really powerful way to persuade and convince, it is not easy to do it well. So this is story selling and how to do it. Essentially, like I mentioned, we use them because they have minimal resistance in your prospect's mind, so you can get your point across pretty easily. They have maximum relatability, especially if they, let's say, have similar experiences, like your prospects have similar experiences to you, and it connects with their emotions. Like when they hear a story and they feel the character's pain, they feel the character's anger, they feel the character's happiness. It has this connection where these prospects feel like they understand the story and the story understands them. And that's the reason why they're gonna buy. So the framework is coming up. But I'm just want to say that for most people, writing a good story isn't easy and it is very time consuming. So I'm just gonna give you the framework to make it easier for you to write your own story. The first one is when and where did it happen? Because you want to form the baseline, like the background for the story. You want to let them know, is it like once upon a time, how story fairy tales always start like that? Or maybe it was just a couple years back, you were working at a shoe cleaning shop. Or maybe it was 10 years ago, your parents divorced, or you were doing drugs, or things like that. It just has to paint a mental image, like a picture in your prospect's mind, because that's where the story starts. Next, you want to say who was involved. Is it between you, between your friends, between your children? Is it your brothers or sisters? So maybe your story involved a bit of, something a bit extreme like drug addiction, alcohol addiction. Maybe it's because you made like friends who just pull you into these things because the neighborhood was pretty much filled with people like that, or maybe because your parents just had like a bad relationship from young and you were scarred by it as well, because they kept fighting every single day, and maybe your mom looks down on your dad or the other way around or whatever the case is. You want to tell them who was involved because the who also helps to connect your audience to your story. Maybe they would think about a past that could be similar to yours as well if there was any connection. And people who like people who are able to connect to your story through your pain, through your suffering, and felt that they had similar experiences, maybe not the same, maybe they didn't have this maybe experience like extreme experiences, but they still had their fair share of suffering, like maybe the siblings used to bully them or something like that. And the idea is when they connect through with those people, with those bullies, with those um basically the characters in your story, that's when they get even more deeper into your story, even more engaged. And through that engagement, you're able to be able to, I guess, not say push your products a bit more or push your services, but once you get them hooked, once you draw them in, it makes it easier to show your point through the story and show why your product or service is better at the end. All right. the third thing is what happened. So the what happened probably forms like the 80% gist of the story, because you want to tell the story from the start to the end. And obviously it needs to be relatable to one another. You don't just tell like a childhood story and then suddenly jump to like an adulthood and basically miss the missing link in between. So I could say that from young, I had always been scared of dentists, because every single time I went to the dentist, especially at school, when at primary school, we pretty much had to go to the dentist every single year. And every time the dentist would just comment, say, hey, have you been drinking too much Milo, too much coffee, too much, in fact, I don't drink coffee when I'm young, too much like Coke, because your teeth just doesn't look white. And a lot of the times when the dentist tried to um, scale my teeth or clean it, basically, she would just be cleaning it and commenting on how it's so bad, how it sucks, and how I need to fix my teeth because it's um it's like the worst teeth she's ever seen and things like that. Like all this, insults. And I felt really upset by it because, for one, I didn't drink coffee. For two, I didn't drink like Milo pretty much every day, like what she said. And I didn't know why my teeth just wasn't white. It just, like, I drank, okay, I do admit that I do drink, like occasional milk or fruit juice, and I do drink water as well, but it's not like I had a complete control over my teeth. And from like a primary school age, from between 7 years old and 7 and 12, it just felt really, really bad as an experience to go to the dentist. Because not only while it was painful when they cleaned my teeth, they had to add all these, rude remarks about my teeth and how I was also like a lazy kid, just because they think that I didn't brush my teeth twice a day because my teeth wasn't white. So afterwards, I just hated dentists. Like, I hated, not say, humans in general, but like I hated going to the dentist because it was a bad experience. I just didn't want to experience it again and again, but I was forced to during my primary school years. So every single year, I went to the dentist that my school has organized. And then when I went to secondary school, I believe for the first 2 years as well, I also had to, you know, be forced to go to the dentist. And it has really impacted a huge part of my life, in a sense. I really didn't want to go to the dentist, although I know that I need to go once a year to check out my teeth. And so even though I did try to go once, every 1 or 2 years, I just had to drag my feet there. And then afterwards, because I went to Australia to study, so that was when I was in Singapore. Afterwards, when I went to Australia to study, I was like, I really can't just not go to the dentist. And the most epic thing is, because I was so scared, like my parents were not with me, and usually my mom would be there to calm me down. But every time I go to the dentist, literally you see me having my fist balled up, my feet all balled up as well, because it just felt like the whole experience was going to be so pain that I needed to endure it. And anyway, moving to my Australia, for the first 4 years in uni, I just didn't look for a dentist, didn't want to look for a dentist. And I just focused on my studies, focused on doing every other thing. I did my regular health checkups, like with the doctor, that was fine. But at the end of the 4 years, I'm like, I feel like my teeth needs to get checked. Because at this rate, not only am I going to get a rotting tooth, I'm probably going to get half my teeth plucked out because of rotting. And like, it's not going to help me in the long run. And as a lot of health professionals probably say, that your teeth's health is also considered your heart health and your overall general health, because people with rotting teeth usually don't have quite a good health. Anyway, so I looked around. I asked my friends, and I basically told them that I'm really scared of dentists. Is there a dentist that's willing to, you know, like, not to calm me down, but like help me to not be so fearful? And through asking around, I managed to find one, and her name is Sarah Ning. Ning. Um, so anyway, when I read her profile, she said she specializes in like people with trauma uh to dentists. And I was like, yeah, I think I got a trauma. So I went to see her and I told her all about my, bad experiences. And afterwards, she helped me like through multiple visits to her because initially it was quite painful. I wouldn't deny that. But she just helped me fix up my teeth and she helped me to what do you call it? In Chinese, it's called buya, and I'm not that familiar with that term. Anyway, she fixed up all the holes, and she didn't tell me that my teeth was not white. She didn't tell me that my teeth sucked. She just, kept me um like basically you can say treated me like a child just going to the dentist again, and just asked me, are you okay? Is this okay? Let me know if you feel pain. We can stop for a little while. She gave me the option to have breaks in between. And I don't know, I felt really respected from that dentist. And from then on, I've decided that she's just going to be my go-to dentist, especially in Australia, every single time. Anyway, through that experience, I no longer fear dentists that much anymore, although it just made me a bit more particular about which dentist I go to because I absolutely do not want to experience what I've experienced in my childhood anymore. Anyway, so that's what happened, but you just want to describe the start to the end of the story and make sure that it's relevant. You can't just describe like drug and addiction and then suddenly jump to how you, I don't know, had a better relationship or something. As long as you find that there's a good link between them, you're probably right on the spot. So the next one is how did the story turn out, and which I mentioned I didn't feel that fearful of dentists anymore, because you just want to give an ending to the story and also give like a moral of the story. Like, what did you learn? What's changed in you? What's values have you, new values have you got? New thinking, and is there anything that suddenly a bit more important? Just like anyway, I'm gonna tell you another story later, so watch out for that. And why is it relevant to your target audience? Obviously, the dentist example wasn't too relevant to you guys, but I just want to say that it's important to, look at your life experiences. I'm sure you can find many stories in there that could be, relevant to your target audience. So in this dentist example, let me think. I would say that what you've experienced does not define you. And it's also about who you look for. So it's a little bit like asking the question, who? Because yes, I've got that childhood trauma and I really hated dentists at one point in time, but it's a problem that I need to fix. And I needed a who, like a character, to help me to get over my fears, to get over my anger with dentists, because it's not like I can't just, treat one dentist as the whole of all the dentists. Like one bad apple doesn't mean that, the whole bunch are bad apples. I'm sure they are good within the bunch and you just need to find the good. And so perfect, I found one. So let's say that you've been burned in the past by a certain, high ticket consultant, coach, or product service provider, and you just feel like everyone's shit. Well, I just want to tell you that's not the case. There are some people whom I know care a lot about their prospects, care a lot about their customers, And they will do over and beyond everything that you might have expected just because they want to see you succeed, whether that is losing weight, whether that is getting better relationships, whether that is building out a business of your own, or your road to financial freedom of confidence, basically. So there are good people out there, even if you have maybe had some bad experiences. All right. So my personal vulnerability story is actually not the dentist. I feel like I realized this too late, and I wish I realized it earlier. But my personal vulnerability story is at that time when I was studying in, like, I guess, junior college in Singapore. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. And there are many things I wanted to do in the past, but the doctor is probably like a medical doctor is probably like the most recent thing before I entered university. Because my parents didn't want me to take a gap year, so I couldn't wait until my results was out before I applied for like a course in uni. And that meant that I cannot apply to the medical course because they needed to see my results first. And so I applied to the next closest thing, which for some people might say maybe not, but it's pharmacy. And when I applied, I got in with my predicted results, and I got in, I started studying. Yes, it was interesting because I naturally had a curiosity for a lot of things in the world, from like gadgets to like relationships to like health. I've got many different lists of guides and guidelines that I could probably even give to you from all my childhood research on what to eat, what not to eat, what kind of exercises I should be doing, how to build better relationships, better leaders, and reading books and things like that. But my point is, it was interesting. I gained the knowledge of all these different medications. But okay, so I just studied 4 years and then I went into internship. And then I realized that maybe it's because of a bad experience as well. I couldn't quite tell you, although my internship was pretty good. I like getting into the workforce or getting into a place where you're earning like money compared to a place where you're just studying. It's a whole new different concept. Like you need to learn how to get along with people, where in your uni, you could literally just bury yourself in books. And I personally am an introvert and don't like I don't particularly have a huge group of friends. I just have, a few good ones and that's it. And so afterwards I got into, my pharmacy internship, and then the intern was great. Like I did my studies and I did my exams and I finally graduated to become a pharmacist. And I realized that honestly, this isn't what I signed up for. Um, because from young, or at least during my time of studies, I always thought that, okay, studying is great. Like, I like studying, I like learning, I like being able to travel, but I don't like to be tied to one place. And having a 9 to 5, having a job, unless it's a work from home, which I know pharmacists definitely aren't, means that you've got to be tied to one place. If not, you can't earn your income. Okay. So aside from being tied to one place, because I worked at like a discount pharmacy store, like a chain store, so maybe that's the reason why there's always a huge influx of customers, and you can never really spend time with them to talk them through their medications. And most of the time, what they expect from us is just cheap prices because we're a discount store. And so the mentality is different. You meet people with different mentality because of how the store is structured. And because of that, I just felt like number one, I'm stuck at this job and I hate that feeling. Number two, my pay wasn't high. And maybe you could say that it's because I don't provide enough value as a pharmacist, and maybe that's true. Because it's I guess nothing transformational, you know, especially when you work in a discount store and people just come in for cheap stuff. So as long as you quickly get them in, quickly get them out, you get some money from those cheap, like selling those cheap stuff. That's it. And number three, so aside from no transformation, number three is it just didn't feel right. And then I was like, I don't really like this um career, but I'm just gonna try again. I'm gonna, leave that store and maybe try like a discount store. Although if I tried a non-discount store, the first point would still be valid because I'll still be stuck at one place. And I did, and I went to try like a non-discount pharmacy store. And it was slightly better because I felt I had more time to talk to people, but like usual, there wasn't any much support. And there was also one time where being like a medication, expert and the person that dispenses and gives out the medication, you're not supposed to make any mistakes. Because there's one time I made one mistake and I nearly got sued. So I was like, dude, this career has number one, got me stuck to a place. Number two is a danger, especially if I make any single mistake. And obviously, you make mistakes so that you can learn, right? So it's not like you intentionally make that mistake, but any mistake can drive people to basically push you to court. And three, I'm still underpaid and overworked. So I was like, we're not doing this anymore. This is just awful. And so I went online. I went to search for, other kind of interests and things that I want to learn because I felt that definitely pharmacy isn't it. And I started, diving into like sales, into like marketing, into like business, and I found, oh, actually, that's pretty interesting. And I feel myself getting a bit more alive. And as I learn more about like mindset, about like how to, sharpen myself as a person, and I realized that all these different soft skills are actually more important than your career itself because it helps you. Like in order to be able to, let's say, start your own business, help other people with their business, I need to be a good marketer and a good seller. And by selling, I don't mean like those slimy, sales tactics where they just push the products towards you, but more about like finding out, hey, what do you need? What do you want? And am I able to give you what you want and need? Because if I'm not able to, then we're not a good fit. Then we shouldn't, you shouldn't buy my product. So you need to be very clear about that. And through all this learning, I learned to be a better closer. And that's what they define as like sales calls that genuinely help people. And also through this experience, I realized my love for marketing. Number one, because obviously it allows me to work from home. Like, there's many different things that you can work from home using, let's say, YouTube automation, using, let's say, Amazon FBA, call it that way, or selling on eBay, or just selling your like self-created gym products or whatever the case is. There's many different ways. And some people like invest in real estate and try to invest to free themselves. I suppose it's more about like, freeing yourself from the rat race because you don't want to keep running on the hamster wheel all the time unless you really love your job. And that's fine. If you love it, that's great. But if you're just in it for the sake of earning an income, then I wouldn't suggest it. Because what's the point of being like, unhappy or like just not happy for 40 plus years of your life just to save out an income and then retire, just living your best life ever for the next 10 years. And the other thing is life short. you really don't get much choice to say, when you could be dead. I mean, I'm not cursing you or anything, but my uncle, as you can see in my description, as always, that was one of my turning points as well, because I realized that you can get cancer at any age. And if you don't, regularly go for your checkups, it could be like a stage 4 cancer and you could die at any age. So why the hell do you want to do something that you don't like and die like, and, touch wood, but do something that you don't like and then die early? Like, at least you want to say that before your deathbed, you want to say that, hey, I lived out my best life and I did my best to live out the life I want to live. So it's not about what you think is the right road. I mean, like, is this like stereotype, this is misconception that you have to follow this road of studies and then after that find a job and then climb the corporate ladder and then earn more money through that climbing. And then obviously in between that process, start a family, have a child, and then retire and then die. Like, it doesn't work that way. It never has. It's just a stereotype. So anyway, afterwards I delved deep into all these marketing and sales, and here I am, helping people with their marketing, helping people with their sales. And the goal is to also help you maximize your persuasion power. And that's why I say that you can always book a call with me and we can work through your offers, we can work through your funnels, we can work through your marketing, we can look for leaky buckets, we can, patch up all of those and get you more sales, get you more business. Anyway, that's how the story turned out. And the moral of the story is live your life to the fullest. And by that, I mean living your life the way you want to live it, not the way people expect you to live it. All right? So if you like this kind of videos, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you want more tips on living out your best life and value-driven content, my social media links are up the top right-hand corner of the page. And enjoy. I wish you a wonderful day.